Welcome to the 1 Minute Apologist. We interview the world's leading apologists to provide credible answers to curious questions.
What tactics should we expect the critics of Christianity to use against us?
Well, I mean, every time you do a case and the prosecutor presents their one side of the case, it's not as though defense attorneys sit there and go, wow, that was really good, I don't have anything to say. No, instead, even though they lose these cases that I've worked on, they'll take time to present a case. And they have a certain series of tactics they'll use, approaches they'll use in order to overcome the evidence we've presented. So for example, when you're working on circumstantial cases that have a large number of small pieces of evidence that point to the same conclusion and they have cumulative power, what I see the defense attorneys doing is pointing to those individual pieces and trying to disqualify each one. I can explain those 20 pieces in 20 alternative explanations. Or they want to kind of undercut the value of each one. In other words, they want us to focus on the microcosm of each piece rather than see how the whole thing points together cumulatively to the same conclusion. I don't want you to see the forest through the trees. And that's what I see happening here as well. But you have to keep in mind though, if I've got one unifying explanation for these 20 pieces of evidence, or the alternative is I've got to have 20 other explanations for all the same pieces of evidence, which is the most reasonable conclusion? The 20 alternative explanations rather, or the one unifying, this guy happens to be guilty. So that's the kind of thing we do in trial. But we also see, though, at some point, it's not unusual to see a defense attorney try to undercut the reliability of the key investigator, for example, or a key witness. If I get to the place where I can make that person look bad on a personal level, maybe even have that person on the stand seem a little bit snarky or a little bit irritable. It's about character, and if I lack a substantive evidential rebuttal, I do sometimes see defense attorneys becoming quite snarky about just kind of an ad hominem attack, where they're just kind of attacking our nature. And I think I see the same kind of thing. Both those tactics I also see when skeptics will try to look at our case, undercut the individual pieces, try to come to the character, kind of make us look foolish in an effort to denigrate the quality of the evidence we're presenting. Those are at least two tactics that I see often used in trial that I also see on blogs, on the internet, anywhere where I see conversation. And one last thing, Bobby, we got to be careful as Christians that we don't take the same approach. I expect the defense attorney to do what it is he's been hired to do. And I expect opponents of Christianity to behave in a certain way. They're not Christians. What I don't want to see, though, is when we as Christians adopt the same tactics. Then I think we really have to kind of check ourselves.
Yeah, well said.